I'm live. This is the first time I've ever gone live on YouTube before. I just now got some things, as you can tell in the rear. I'm at Walmart. Well, I got one thing. I got some grape juice. God damn grape juice for Shabbat. For because I got the challah down here, and I got the kadem grape juice, and so we can have some grape juice and challah for Shabbat. Anyway, I just wanted to come on here and share testimony about my journey through nicotine quitting. I've been smoking since I was 14 or 16. I can't remember which. I think it was more 15, late 15, early 16 age that I started smoking cigarettes, my mom's cigarettes. Actually, it was I was living in the low income housing apartment complex in Wichita Falls, Texas, and the guy, some other kids that lived in that complex smoked, and I tried it and enjoyed the buzz that you got from it, and so I kept going for that, and eventually I couldn't stop. And then I started bumming from. My mom started getting me cigarettes. Well, I wasn't necessarily taking them. I don't remember if I took from her or not, but I know she gave me some, and she smoked menthol, so therefore I became a menthol smoker. So since then, and I'm 37 now, but I just wanted to share what I went through because it was different. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. I work 12 steps, which are the Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5. I discussed that in my last testimony video whenever I was on my way back to Little Rock from New York after the Feast of Trumpets. But most of you know that I started a trip on April 11th. I went first to Middle Texas, from Wichita Falls, Austin, and San Antonio and such. I spent 4 amazing days on a flat Earth meetup with some amazing people. Changed lives. My life changed. I got back to a state of mind that I was in whenever I first went through treatment and started working the 12 steps, and that was amazing. So anyway, Yah or God started convicting my heart about some habits that I had at that time. I was using kratom, which I don't have a problem with people using kratom for pain or to come off of opiates. I'm not going to say anything about kratom, but what I had to get real with myself about was why was I using it? Because I remember before I started using it, I didn't have much pain. I do have pain, but it goes away with movement and with exercise. And if I do start feeling pain, I can move like my shoulders, I can move my arm, and the pain goes away. Some days I have a lot of pain and it doesn't go away. But these things do pass. And on those days, the kratom helps, and I still take it every once in a while for that pain. I took it a few days ago. But what I had to get real about was why was I using it on a daily basis as like a prescription to an opiate. And that's because it does provide a slight euphoric effect. And what I found out was that effect goes away. Anyway, Yahuwah convicted me on that and convicted me about my smoking habit. I tried to justify it saying that I have access to people that people who don't smoke do not have access to. That was just an excuse. Anytime I try to justify something I'm doing, that's all I'm doing is trying to justify it. In fact, I think I have a stronger testimony now that I don't use nicotine anymore. But anyway, I wanted to talk about my journey through this. So, a few months later, I go late August. I go to the Take on the World conference, and from that point on, Yahuwah made my life miserable. Well, actually, it started getting miserable late May. Whenever I came back to Wichita Falls to visit, And the next few months, while I had an amazing time in Colorado and Kansas and New Mexico, amazing time, there was a lot of, I didn't feel right in my deep down inside, and I couldn't figure out why, what changed. And I think that what changed was the fact that Yahuwah was calling me to do some things in my life that I wasn't doing. He wanted me to fast for 3 days. He wanted me to quit the kratom. He wanted me to quit the nicotine. And I didn't do that. I was trying to justify it and to act like it was just me having a desire to do it when I knew very well Yahuwah was calling me to do it. So then the conference, the Take on the World conference. Sorry if the camera's bouncy. I don't have a gimbal. There's an arm. Well, you know how it is in a vehicle. So, but I went to the Take on the World conference in Cleveland, Ohio, or near Cleveland, Ohio, at Beulah Beach, and oh gosh, what an amazing time! But I didn't feel good, and it only got worse after that conference, exponentially worse. As a matter of fact, a lot of us were praying about, attacks from the kingdom of darkness after that conference because of the fact that we attended that conference. And I would say that it's true. A lot of us did get attacked, but Yahuwah allows that to happen. It's not like the kingdom of darkness can override Yahuwah. Yahuwah has to give permission for that. So there's a reason we were being attacked. It wasn't just because we went to this conference. It was because Yahuwah was testing us to see if that. I assumed that Yahuwah, like whenever I was a kid and we went to church camp and we feel good, and that lasts for 2 weeks after church camp, and then everything's back to normal, and we act like it's some kind of a Holy Spirit thing whenever it was actually just a good feeling that we got from going to church camp. Well, I think Yahuwah was testing us because this wasn't a church camp for kids. This was adults. This was full-grown adults going to this thing, and I believe Yahuwah was testing us to see if this was an actual faith deal. And so the first thing I tried to give up all of them at the same time over a 3-day fast, and that didn't work. I didn't make it all 3 days. I made it 2 days. I didn't make it but a few hours without using tobacco or dosing up on the kratom. That was a miserable few days. That was the same few days that the top hinge on my driver's side door broke. The same few days that, it was weird. So a few days later, I was in, I don't remember the town's name, but there's a college there, and that town is full of demons. It was creepy. I did not like being there at all. Well, Yahuwah had me there for a purpose. He opened up some eyes through me at the hotel I was staying at. But at any rate, I decided to give up the kratom, and I did. And I went through 6 days of withdrawals. One more night at that hotel, and then I went to a campsite near Wolcott, New York, and I stayed at this campsite, and I mostly remained there. And after the 6th day, the next day I felt much better. The 7th day I felt much better. Kind of ironic, right? It wasn't a Shabbat though. It was the 7th day after I quit the kratom. But I felt much better, so I did the 3-day fast at that time, and it was amazing. Yahuwah showed me the authority we had in Scripture through a Facebook post that a buddy of mine made about a Catholic woman who he had a conversation with. She pointed out where Yahushua, most of you know him as Jesus, Yahushua or Yeshua, he pointed out, after his resurrection, the first time he met with 11 of the 12 apostles in the upper room, the first time he met with, it was 11 of the 12. I don't remember which one wasn't there. He told them, he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Ghost. Whosever sins ye remit will be remitted, and whosever sins ye retain will be retained, or something like that. Sounded like he was giving them permission to forgive sin. Giving them authority to forgive sin. So, that really made me start to think about whenever I don't forgive other people of their sin, and when people don't forgive me of my sin. And it didn't sound like he was talking about their sin against them. It sounded like he was talking about forgiving sin in general. So I don't know, but it led to some other scriptures after I discussed it with some people, some other scriptures about authority, and it blew my mind. And so I was miserable during the first day of this fast, and so I started speaking that I wasn't hungry, and it changed. My whole attitude changed. I started speaking out loud. I'm not hungry. I'm full of joy. I'm full of joy. And so anyway, fast forward a few weeks, I get to Little Rock, and I'm miserable. I'm still miserable. And now I've been in situations where I wasn't allowed to smoke before. Those were like whenever I went to boot camp for the Navy. 3 months I wasn't allowed to smoke there, but I still picked up. The first thing I did, that's the first thing I wanted when I got out of boot camp, was a cigarette. You know, I've been to jail a few times where I wasn't, a couple days behind bars, and I couldn't smoke there. But the first thing I wanted to do was pick up that cigarette. The difference was this time it was my choice, and it was my choice because I felt like Yahuwah told me to. Matter of fact, I know he told me to. See, I was staying at this hotel, and this homeless guy, now, I was staying a few nights at this hotel, and I bought a week this day. And this homeless guy came to my car after I went and I came back, and I was getting out of my vehicle, and this homeless guy came with his bags, and he asked me if I could keep his bags in my car while he went and panhandled enough money to stay the night at this hotel. And Yah told me, impressed upon my heart that I should buy this guy a room for the night. So I went inside, and the clerk rang up the week price instead of the day price. And the first leg of my trip, an amazing friend of mine gave me a considerable amount of money. She made a video saying that she was going to give me less money, but she accidentally said a different amount in the video, and Yah told her that it was not an accident that she said that, and so she gave me the increased amount. And so I took that situation as Yah telling me, no, you buy this guy a week. So I bought him a week, and then that's when I knew that I had to quit smoking. That's when I knew that it wasn't just me, thinking that, that's when I knew that Yah was telling me to quit. So I quit, and it wasn't smoking necessarily. Smoking was just the outward visual thing that I did, and the flavor of what I did. I dipped tobacco. I mean, I still have the pipe that I had loaded at that time right here in my vehicle, still loaded. I kind of sucked on it dry. See, it's loaded still. I sucked on it dry. Whenever, sometimes especially the first couple of weeks, whenever I would have a craving, it actually helped. But mostly I ate celery and carrots, lots of celery and carrots. Anyway, I dipped, and I had a dip in my mouth 24/7 if I wasn't smoking the pipe, okay? So that includes nights. I slept with it in my mouth. I dipped small wads so that I could put them in the back of my mouth and no one could tell that I had them in my mouth. I dipped at work. I always had a dip in my mouth. So it was like a constant IV drip of nicotine in my mouth 24 hours a day. And that's worse than someone smoking like 2 packs a day. That's if I were constantly puffing on a cigarette without stopping. And dipping is actually a much stronger buzz than smoking. It just doesn't hit you near as fast. Whereas smoking hits you so fast, but it's not near as strong a buzz. Anyway, the first few days were hard, and it was an hour at a time. I was living an hour at a time sometimes. Now, one thing I will say about the craving, is that it goes away quickly, especially if I get myself distracted, and I failed at that. I had no energy. My energy was sapped. It was weird. It was different. I've quit drugs. I've quit meth. I've quit cannabis. I've quit alcohol after using it habitually, and those things, maybe 3 days, and I was feeling like myself again. This wasn't anything like that. Smoking the nicotine was a lot longer because I've been doing it for so long. I felt naked. I felt empty. I switched to eating, and I was eating a lot. I was eating a lot. I'm not eating a lot anymore, praise Yahuwah, and I'm hoping that my weight goes back down again pretty quickly. And I praise Yah that my weight didn't go up more than it did. I mean, I still don't look terrible, But I had to get myself distracted. I had to go for walks. Like I said, I ate a lot of celery and carrots because they're long, they're crunchy. Because I dipped, I could take the veins from the celery and wad it up and put it under my lip, and it actually, it helped, especially with the slight acidity of the celery. It helped a lot, but the crunchiness of the carrots and the celery big time helped. But I was also going to the Indian restaurant every day. I mean, I praise Yah, it's not an expensive place, and it's wonderful. Star of India in Little Rock, Arkansas is like my favorite restaurant now. And the owner, Sammy, he's amazing. But anyway, the first few days were really, really difficult. All of it was really difficult until I finally felt like myself again. But it wasn't. The thing I'll say about it, it wasn't so much craving for nicotine. It was depression. For 3 weeks, I was depressed deeper than I've ever experienced my entire life. You can ask someone. Well, I would say you can ask some of my friends that are around there, but I'm not going to name names or anything like that, so you can't ask them. However, some friends that I had around me, I mean, I was going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings as much as I could. I couldn't even work the first few weeks. I tried, and it was hard. I would go in the bathroom and I would just cry. The deepest depression I've ever known. And then once again, eating the celery and the carrots. It wasn't even so much the cravings. I didn't really crave nicotine all that much. I could be around people smoking, and it didn't make me want to smoke more. It was just a deeper depression than I'd ever known. And then even after that, for another month, I still didn't have all the energy back, the motivation. Everything was dead. I ended up going to the emergency room to see if they could test my blood for pathogens, to see if maybe I was suffering from something other than nicotine withdrawal. What the doctor told me, and I don't trust doctors very much, but this makes sense to me, was that I've been, because I've been using nicotine for so long, it hyperactivated the dopamine receptors in my brain or whatever. And so whenever I quit, my pleasure sensor was way up here. It required a whole lot of stimulation for me to get pleasure. And now that I've taken the pleasure that I'm experiencing way down by taking away the drug I've been using for 20 years, it's going to take some time for the dopamine receptors to settle down and to get back to where a natural state, so that normal amounts of stimulation will give me pleasure again. And so I prepared for the long haul. I prepared mentally that it would take a lot longer than what it did. And so, not last Sabbath, but the Sabbath before that, the Sabbath before that, I can't think of what date that is. I can't even think of what date today is. Anyway, the Sabbath, I'll say it in a amount of time. It was a month and 3 weeks. A month and 3 weeks is how long it took for my dopamine receptors to normalize. And then I started feeling like myself again. Now, I don't really crave it anymore at all. I don't get cravings. I feel like myself again. I have joy again. It's amazing. I feel like I did before I came back to Wichita Falls to visit, before I headed to Colorado. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And I firmly believe that part of it is, the natural, and Yahuwah created my body. Yahuwah created your body. Yahuwah created us. So it is still a godly thing for the dopamine receptors to normalize, and for us to feel, good the way He created us to feel good. But in the same respect, I also believe that it's because I finally got honest with myself about what Yahuwah was telling me and the reason I was holding on to these things, and gave it up. Now, the most important thing, a piece of advice I can give to anyone who wants to quit nicotine, is that you've got to get rid of the word try. You have got to get rid of that word. That word is the most evil word to any human being ever. And I'm the number one person to use that word, so please don't think that I'm trying to sound holier than thou. I'm not. mean, I've been wanting to quit smoking for a long time, but I've been using excuses to say that I didn't want to, and yada yada yada. I'm not gonna lie, I miss the flavor. I miss puffing on the pipe. You know, I miss smoking and the action of it. Cigars and pipes. Hopefully someday I can get to where I'll enjoy a pipe or a cigar without having to, you know, put dip in my mouth and constantly smoke again. Either way, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, I had to wipe the word try out of my vocabulary. I had to give myself permission to smoke tomorrow. You know what I mean? And the idea behind that is I make it to tomorrow to where I've given myself I can smoke, to where I've given myself permission that I can smoke. And once that hits, I'm motivated at that point. I made it till tomorrow. I made it till today, so why not do it again? Let's wait until tomorrow. I'll give myself permission to smoke tomorrow. And that was the first 3 weeks, was giving myself permission to smoke tomorrow. You know what I mean? But once I was there, it was like, why would I give up now? You know, if I smoke tomorrow, if I smoke now, I'm going to have to start over again. I don't want to start over again. I want to get this done. I want to nip this in the bud. So, you know, but the thing is it had to be my idea. While I feel like I did receive the order from Yahuwah, I had to want it to. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much Yahuwah tells me to do something. If I don't want to serve him, then it ain't going to happen. And sometimes it takes a whole lot of pain to get to where we actually want to serve Yah instead of ourselves. But be prepared for some depression. Be prepared to have nothing bring you pleasure for a little while, you know? Be prepared to white knuckle life for a few months. Or weeks or whatever. And be sure that you have people around you. I was at Alcoholics Anonymous meetings 3 times, 4 times, as much as I could be. There were days when I just stayed in that room all day, you know, and around people all day. Even if there was no one there, I still remained in that room all day. You know, you've got to have community. I couldn't have done it if I was by myself all day. I couldn't have done it. So, anyway, I just wanted to share what I went through to quit nicotine. And I hope this motivates somebody. I hope this wasn't doom and gloom. I'm not saying this to say, it's horrible, you can't do it, no, you can do it. Now, I also had another friend who just quit, and she sent me a message on Facebook thanking me for encouraging, for the motivation or whatever, the encouragement to do it. I don't know what the proper word is. She sent me a message on Facebook thanking me because my quitting encouraged her to quit. But she said that she fasted. She said she started her quitting out with a fast for 3 days. Or no, I don't know. I'm not going to say 3 days. I don't remember how. She said it got rid of all of the cravings and stuff. She also quit drinking at the same time too. So I don't know how that works. You might do some research on that, see what methods people used. But I don't recommend using Chantix. I don't recommend using anything but just quitting. You know, I don't even recommend using food. I think that I was seeking pleasure with the food. So I don't know. I know that I gained some weight because of the food. And then I wasn't even eating meat. I wasn't even eating meat during this time because of some beliefs that I came across in the scripture, and I was battling with that. I'm eating meat again. And I'm not going to get into that now, but anyway, she talked about fasting and how it got rid of the cravings and all that stuff. So you might try that. You might try the fasting, but do some research on it first. I didn't do any research. I just quit. So I will not say that I was prepared to quit, because I certainly wasn't. I just took the order and I went with it, you know. Like I said, I gave myself permission to smoke tomorrow. Of course, tomorrow's never there. Once tomorrow hits, it's now today. You know what I mean? So But I didn't look at it that way. Once tomorrow hit, yes, it was today, but it was still tomorrow, the day that I gave myself permission to smoke, and I was motivated enough that I didn't pick up and smoke. I don't know what else to say. I want to encourage you that you can do it. You just have to wipe the word try out of your vocabulary, because if you try, you're going to fail. I could not try. I had to do it. And that's what I had to remind myself every time I got a craving. I'm not trying anything. I'm doing it. I'm not trying anything. So I hate to quote a demon, Star Wars demon Yoda guy, but there is no try. There is only do. And praise Yahuwah, he got me through it. I don't think that I could have done it without him telling, me feeling like he told me to do it, feeling like it was a direct order from him at all. I don't think I could have done it if I didn't feel like it was a direct order from him. But like I said, in the past, I've been in situations where I couldn't smoke and I ended up smoking again. That's the first thing I did whenever I could smoke again. So it had to be my idea. It couldn't be something that I was forced to do. I was in boot camp longer than it took for me to get over the cravings. So, and I still picked up. I still craved it. This is the first thing. It was still the first thing I did. And let me tell you, it was difficult. I paid a lot of money for that pack of cigarettes because I bought it from the Chicago O'Hare Airport, and I had to walk a long way from where we were to go to get to be in a place where I could smoke that cigarette. So I made some effort to smoke that cigarette after boot camp. Anyway, I don't know what else to say other than Yahuwah bless you. There's a police officer right there, and in Texas we're not allowed to text message. I don't know if he would consider me reaching up to my phone to turn off this live video as a text message. So I'm going to wait until he can't see me anymore to end this live video. And this is also the first time I've gone live on YouTube, so I thought I'd try that out. I'm of course going to watch this later and make sure that it's not too bouncy and stuff. If it is too bouncy, I'll go re-record it. I might even, there he goes. I might even watch it again, make an outline, and be more concise about what I'm saying instead of repeating myself and the ums and the ohs and the silence breaks and stuff like that. Make it a more digestible video. Let me go ahead and share with you the main points that I wanted to make with this. Wipe the word try out of your vocabulary. Give yourself permission to smoke tomorrow, but let the fact that you made it until that permission granted, let the fact that you made it till then motivate you to not to make that same promise to yourself again until to the next tomorrow. Celery and carrots helped me a lot. Do some research on fasting for the cravings. I've heard that my friend told me that killed her cravings and took away the desire. I don't know how that works, but you might do some research on that. What else? It's got to be your idea. Wipe the word try out of your vocabulary. Do not use that word. If you try, you will fail. That's what that word means. Try means fail. Goodbye. Praise Yah. I hope that I wish you success.